Hey guys, it's Matt. We only look at the headlines about twice a month, unless there's some urgent breaking fake news like the U.S. retaliation against Iran's nuclear facilities, things like that. Fake breaking news, which they probably bombed out a few Jack and Jill ice cream carts. They probably don't have that over there, but they have anthills in the desert and falafel carts. That's probably what was bombed. But when there's that, then we'll look a little bit more than twice a month. But remember, I put this axiom or my theory out about 2 years ago saying even if it's just a 2 week period between coming to check on Duluth and Dubuque, there will be a noticeable breakdown in the idiocracy quality of the headline, a noticeable change in just 2 weeks. And that axiom has never been broken. I've never come to you, say 6 months ago, and said, the headlines today seem more legitimate. The headlines today seem more believable than they were 2 weeks ago. It's a slow slide. And I don't know, maybe this, like the rule of opposites, will never be broken. It's doing it again, and we don't understand how it can get more ridiculous and people not notice. There is endless material here for me. Endless things to make fun of. In fact, some of the headlines are so bizarre, it's almost hard to make fun of them. I'm kind of in that conundrum. It's endless material here. It's thank you, CNN. Thank you, Not Milk. Now, remember what Michael said, who's passed, and he gave us a lot of wisdom over the years. Michael says it's dangerous for you on your own or me on my own, if I was not doing it with you, to dive into these headlines. It's a spell of some kind, but I'm the buffer here for you. I'm your filter. I'm your comedic filter. I'm your reality filter. We're not going to take this recitarily. So there's no danger here for you. If you just go to CNN on your own and read through it, oh yeah, it's not good. It'll put you right smack on the ship of fools unless you've really polished your armor over the years. I'm your buffer. If anything's going to happen to anybody going through these headlines, it'll happen to me. And if there's a change in me, you'll know. Oh, you'll know. I'll start talking about these headlines as if they're real. But if I only spend time on these headlines 2 or 3 times a month, I look at them almost every day. Because again, if there's some major news story, I feel it's my responsibility to talk about that, not do a Melvin and Bezos episode if the U.S. is doing a first strike somewhere. So I have to just take a quick look, and I call it just checking on Duluth and Dubuque. But we're going to look a little bit more closely today because it's been 2 or 3 weeks. And again, I notice, and you will notice a difference just in a few weeks' time period in terms of the level of idiocracy that's being presented here. So when you glance at the headlines daily, every day starts out the same. For me, I try to keep it to 25 seconds or less so I'm not influenced by some sort of mind control. Every single central story for months and months and months, I don't know how long this has been going on, is Trump this, Trump that, Trump Epstein, Trump that, Trump Eppenstein or Steiner EpiPen, Trump this, Trump's in trouble, Trump. It's totally bizarre. Okay, 1 or 2 days, the U.S. strikes Israeli, no, sorry, that'd be interesting. The U.S. strikes Iranian nuclear facilities. That was a news headline. Other than those big fake stories, it's Trump all the time. It's totally bizarre. Once again, the Not Milk has brought back this caricature, this Trump of perfect polarization, right, splitting the country right down the middle. And his person is a lightning rod for controversy and love and support on one side and hate and ire on the other side. I told Pam and her friends, the orange man. The orange, I hate him. The left. The left hates what's going on. They hate it. I hope. Oh, look, more Eppenstein Steiner headlines. Oh, I hope it brings him down. I hope it brings him. But the energy, the loosh that it pours forth from hundreds of millions of people around the world, not just in the United States. Not Milk, if you're listening, what are you going to do in the future to get more energy and more loosh? This caricature, as what you call president, couldn't possibly produce any more polarizing energy for you to feed upon. So if you need this much loosh energy now, what are you going to do in the future? How are you going to eclipse this? They'll find a way. Somehow, it doesn't seem possible. They will find a way to put a president in that's even more polarizing. Or if it's not a perfect split down the middle, will be hated by one side to such a degree, even more than the left hates this man, that it'll make up from a loosh factor on a sliding scale or something. It'll make up for the fact that it's not a complete, exact, equal teeter-totter polarization. polarization. They'll find a way somehow. I don't know how not, Nilk. It's very impressive what you're doing. I have no idea how you keep doing it. And we used to throw it out years ago that it seems like something's feeding on our energy, like these weird loose theories about loosh. And it's now proven over and over and over again, there's no possible way society and culture and governments and politics would be structured the way they are to create this much friction. Friction, rubbing back and forth is what makes the balloon stick to your head. Friction, something moving back and forth. The copper coil is what makes electricity moving back and forth. I'm no electronic engineer. I don't know how it works. I don't know nothing about it. But it's some copper coil of some kind moves around. It creates electricity. This loosh thing that we've threw out as being likely, it's 100%. There has to be something here feeding on all this energy that it works overtime producing. And we're considered crazy for noticing the obvious? I talked about this new pop-up that comes when you go to CNN, and it's very recent, only in the last few weeks. I think I mentioned it just in the last video. I was talking about the blissful dread feeling. We'll continue to talk about that. Some people said, it's Matt, bittersweet. No, it's not bittersweet. Bittersweet's a brand of ice cream or something. Bittersweet's my ex-girlfriend from high school. Boy, she was nice and she was tough. She was Lou. That bittersweet. I appreciate the people that... No, that's not what we want to use. We're talking about the wrestling of the soul and things that we're going through, struggling to get out of a reality that we're trying to graduate from and doing certain things for the spiritual whole of ourselves. Bittersweet, a brand of Starbucks Frappuccino. I don't like that term. The blissful dread is better, but thank you for the bit. Like I'm not aware that I could have used. Matt, you could have used bittersweet. No, it doesn't work. Sorry, legal terms and privacy. Everybody does this, Matt. Everybody does do this. I'm just telling you, it's very new for CNN. When you went to CNN.com and saw the news headlines and it immediately tried to put its spell on you, you didn't have to click this. Now, maybe it'll recognize my IP address and I won't have to do it again. But when I mentioned it, I had to do it on the laptop, and now I have to do it on the iMac. And as we talked about, there's something to all this. Hopefully it's not as nefarious as the people that are unaware, like your friends and family, like making pact and agreement with something very dark, and by clicking agree, you have read and agree to the terms you have read. Now, who's read it? Nobody, of course. Nobody, of course, has ever read it. It's you have read and agree to the terms of use and agree to the collection and use of your information by cookies and similar technologies as set forth in our privacy policy that not one person in the history of the world has ever read. And then it's the legend devil in the Tom Cruise movie. Okay, guys, as we dive into the specific headlines, remember, I am your buffer zone or your armor, standing between you and a very dangerous and specific set of headlines that facilitate a mind control. But it does actually, the old guard, they wouldn't work on you anyway, of course. But I'm just like an extra buffer. I'm like the guy they send out of the trench first in this case. If something happens, it'll happen to me, and you'll know when it does. So here, by the way, before we get into this, there's 3 classifications of the news that we'll look at. There's about 10% is actually real. Okay, yes, 10% is actually Venus Williams really is marrying this skinny little white boy or something. I'll show you that. He's marrying this skinny little white boy. Venus, that's real. Okay, that 10%'s real. There was a tornado somewhere where they said in Kansas or something. Now, out of the rest of it, that leaves... My math is a little off. 90% of the rest. 45% is just completely fake. And the other 45% is, even if it's real, it's fake. For example, what's going on in Gaza, West Bank, everything conducted and orchestrated in the script in the Middle East. There are real bombings and real people lose their homes and real people are driven off and refugees and homeless and drinking from rusty water pipes. That's even if it's real, it's fake because it was laid down in the script decades ago. So there's an element of fake. I mean, even if real people suffer. See, that's just one example of even if it's real, it's fake. If there are people out there like Brenton that don't truly understand it yet. But this headline is a good place to start. Secret city of tunnels found under Rome. Now, the regular guy or gal heading into work, I don't know, some sort of SEPTA R5 line heading into 30th Street Station. They're, oh, look at this. Secret city of tunnels found under Rome. It's completely believable and legitimate. So let me get this straight. Rome's been a big major city in Europe for hundreds and hundreds of years, I mean thousands. I obviously going back to what was it, Titus or Romulus Remus. Okay, that's one was like a wolf boy suckled from a wolf or something. Didn't Romulus or Remus suckle from a wolf? Literally, that's a sick beginning. Rome. Then you've got all sorts of real sickness that comes after, like Constantine and those sick individuals. Sorry, at least Constantine didn't suck from the teat of a wolf. Anyway, so they've been building in all these major structures. Like I'm no expert on civil engineering, but the Colosseum, you had to dig down pretty low for that. That's where the gladiator came up and the tigers and shit came up to get Russell Crowe, right? So they didn't know. Let me get this straight. And you city planners in Rome are really smart. You're from the Davenporto. That's Spanish. Secret city of tunnels found under Rome. All these tunnels, all the up here. No appointment, no nothing. You didn't know these tunnels were there. Now, some people in our community would say they weren't there. We're experiencing basically a dark city, Matt. The reality is broken down to such a degree of such fluidity that we're experiencing a dark city. The tunnels are there now, no doubt. They weren't found because they were never there before, but they were always there per retrocausality of the Mandela effect. Matt, this is breaking down already. I'm not even joking in this case, folks. There's a lot of smart people here that would say they weren't even there. They weren't just found. That's the only thing the person riding the train into Philadelphia can understand. There was this whole tunnel and cities, and people lived underground like Chaka. And Chaka wasn't a slee stack. He was like a Chewbacca type or something. There was slee stacks were underground. Chaka wasn't underground. Sorry, the slee stacks in Land of the Lost with Marshall, Will, and Holly. That was, Matt, they were just found, just discovered. Many smart people would say, no. It was like a dark city shift of reality, a Mandela effect. They're there now, and the history will say they've always been there, but just found now. What are the chances? I mean, what, really? Oh, yeah. Nobody's been digging in the ground in Rome. You don't have to dig down at all to build a skyscraper. When you build a skyscraper 20 stories, you don't have to dig down 5 or 6 stories, do you? Yeah, you do. See? Well, they don't have too many skyscrapers, I guess, in Rome, but they still had to dig down, whether it be the Colosseum or a falafel shop. This is ridiculous. Reality, you're trying to pass off to me that it's a secret city, not just 1 or 2 tunnels where there's like a broom closet. Secret city of tunnels. What is going to be the same as the Paris catacombs now? You're going to get down there, there's going to be 6 million heads. That's in the Paris catacombs, 6 million skulls, they say. This is ridiculous. We can't take it much longer. Caption. And when you really, really, really regret that picture being taken. Oh no, this again. French President Macron sues Candace Owens over claims his wife is a man. This is a news article on CNN. Don't censor me. French President Macron sues Candace. Who's Candace Owens? Over claims his wife is a man. Well, I'd like to make the same claim. How do I get sued? Wait a second, Matt. You want to be sued by Macron and his legal team? Of course I would want to be sued. Could you imagine the credibility that would lend this channel and me specifically, Matt McKinley, if I was sued by the president of France, Senor Macron? I don't know his first name. It's just Macron, Senor or something. Yes, please name me. You make an example out of me. YouTubers need to be punished. Actually, my claim, or what I put forth, is much worse. I'm saying the same thing that Candace Owens is saying, but I'm also saying something else, which has to do with an age differential. And there's a TV show. What was it called? I almost thought it was the TV show bought from about 20 years ago. How I Met Your Mother, How I Married Your Mother. There's a TV show. Who is that? One of those actors? Is it the girl from American Pie? How I Met Your Mother. TV show, How I Married Your Mother. That's the second element of my claim. But then wouldn't it then be father? Look at this. Look at the way this guy's dressed. Guys, I don't save anything from the past. We go to the current day's headlines. 1 or 2 things get my attention, and then I know the Not Milk will deliver a comedy show. It's always there. It will always break down further than it did the last time I looked at it 2 weeks ago. I'm not saving things, and this is all the current day. Who would dress men up like that and expect them to win? Soccer, we call it soccer here. Football is a tougher sport than people think. I mean, that when the heads bang together and they do red cards or whatever, the yellow cards, and they hit into each other, and you got to be tough to get in there and grind. I mean, not like football or anything, but it's tougher than a lot of Americans will look down on it. It's tougher than that. But so there is a degree of physicality, no doubt about it. But you put a man dressed like that, and you expect them to get tough in going into towards the goal? You can't win dressed like that. I guarantee that team doesn't win. I mean, what it turns them into Ken. If anybody were to pull their pants down, well, that's from. I can always get confused that it's from beginning of Weird Science. Yeah, they pulled. Hey, check us out. Check us out. They pull the pants down in Jim. It was again, I always forget the name. It's Robert Downey Jr. pulls down the pants of Gary and Wyeth. If you did that on the soccer field to these people dressed like that, it'd be nothing but a bunch of Kens, and you know what I mean. Look at this. Thailand launches airstrikes on Cambodian military targets as deadly border dispute escalates. Thailand, that was one of the areas being selected, or at least narrowed down, for not milk-free zone. We were closely looking at Thailand. We thought that's where not milk, and generally people leave other people alone, but apparently not. They're trying to create their own little war. They're trying to mimic India and Pakistan. I mean, where's Kent on this? Kent, I've told you about Kent many times. He's a god to these people. I'm not even joking. He's spent years and years over there. He's spent time in Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand. He's edited books about the region. He knows everything there is to know. Kent, comment on this. Tell us, is this going to escalate into something big? Are they trying to create their own little Korean conflict or Vietnam situation here? Or is this? I think Kent will probably come back and say, Matt, they've been skirmishing across the border for years and years. This is nothing. This is just CNN looking for a headline. You can still consider it for not milk-free zone. I need Kent to let us know. It's been a while since we've heard from him. Finally got some good news here. Look at the white box. DOJ, that's the Department of Justice, launches strike force to investigate former President Obama. Former President Obama is under investigation. I haven't clicked on it. I might not click on it. It's like you want to wait for a Christmas present till Christmas morning. You want to open it. I don't know if I'm even going to click on it. Was he on the Eppensteiner Steiner Island, or just what were they investigating him for? They're not going to bring the birth they're not going to bring the birth certificate back, are they? That Barack Obama Sr., oh boy, he's as much my father as he is Barack. So you've got to be kidding me. It was not Frank Lloyd Wright. He's an architect. Son, Frank Marshall Davis and Frank Lloyd Wright. Frank Marshall Davis. It was that what was that documentary filmmaker? I believed every bit of it. Still do. Dreams from My Real Father. Frank Marshall Davis. Not Barack Obama Sr., who they got off the plane. They just got some guy off the plane somewhere from Sudan. They went in there and they said, "Hey, you want a little bit of a role? We need you to play this role for a few weeks. Come to the United States and pose for some pictures with this little kid." That's what do I get? $20,000. See, he could have gotten a lot more if they said the pictures he was going to pose with this little kid was going to be the future president of the United States, as it was all planned out decades in advance. He just got $20,000 at Barack Obama Sr. Then he disappeared or something. They disappeared him. Oh, more mockery. Look at this. In rare trip for a sitting president, Trump to tour the Federal Reserve headquarters. First of all, why would it be a rare trip? The entire world's money supply comes from it. It'd be a rare trip. The president shouldn't have anything. I mean, okay, guys, we all know what's really going on here. Rare trip for a sitting president. He's going to tour the Federal Reserve headquarters. There ain't going to be nothing in there but one computer on a desk, and it's probably the same Commodore 64 from 1985. This is what doles the money out to the entire world. The ECB, the Bank of London, the Bank of Japan, it all doesn't exist. It's all linked up to this Commodore 64. This one, okay, maybe it's not a Commodore 64, but it's one Whopper computer. There's nothing to tour. What are you going to tour? There's going to be a bunch of employees sitting at desks doing what? It's digital. I called it money printing. And somebody a week ago told me, no, Matt, it's money creation. They don't print anymore. Pootie tang. I know, just a way of saying something, money printing. Of all people, you don't think I know? You think they print up the trillions and they load them into trucks? You think that's what I thought? Oh, my God. Pootie Tang in rare trip for sitting president. There, okay. In fact, there's nothing at all in the building. I would say absolutely nothing, but one or two mice running around. This is an absolute joke, and it's a mockery to you and I, folks. The magenta rafts got my attention, of course. And then underneath, we found 5 places in the United States that could flood, like Texas, and the tragedy we talked about 2 weeks ago. Here's what they have in common. 5 places that could flood. The first thing I thought of when I saw the headline were, do the top dignitaries and billionaires and elite in this, do those 5 places that could flood? Is there like a Camp Walden from The Parent Trap next to them too? In The Parent Trap, they went to Camp Walden. That's where Hallie met Annie. At Camp Walden for 20 years. I thought there were 2 actresses as twins. I didn't know it was the same girl, Lindsay Lohan. So the first thing you want to ask here, those 5 places that could flood as bad as Texas did with the magenta rafts, do they have a little camp for girls close by? I would say get them, all the camps for girls and boys. You got little kids camping around. These 5 places could flood like Texas. Get them out. Send them to Gaza if you have to. Gaza and the West Bank, get him away from that damn creek. As I was doing this, an ad popped up, which I had to screenshot on the right, and it's for the new Superman movie. Unfortunately, I was very hasty in my screenshot, and you're looking at Flo from Progressive too. I do apologize for that, especially if anybody's eating. I like Jamie, and I like the little girl on the left that complains. Oh, we gotta go out and do this. I like the little complaining girl, Flo. I like actually the black guy who loves his motorcycle, keeps pushing his motorcycle on everybody. I like that. I don't know who the guy on the right is. It's some stiff they're trying to introduce. Flo, sorry, Flo. Hey, Progressive, if you're listening to me, get rid of the lead character. She was played out 20 years ago. Sorry, Superman. In the past, Christopher Reeve or Reeves, whatever your Mandela effect preference is, we had, I almost said Hugh Jackman. That's the Wolverine. What's his? I forget his name. The guy that played Superman. Really, the people have played Superman in the past, and very good actors. The Superman character was always our hero, and especially if you grew up in my era, I'm in my 50s, and you got the comic books as a kid, Superman was always the number one superhero. I mean, nobody could really beat him. If you could maybe hold your own if you're a bad guy, but no, now this movie, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit long-winded, this movie's out to destroy our beloved character. Just like the Po, Re, Mi, Vo, La, Sol, La, De, Do movies, the Sound of Music trilogy that's out to destroy your original Star Wars beloved characters like Luke Skywalker and Han Solo. Everything now is out to destroy what once was. Well, that's what the Superman movie does. They say the Superman just gets his ass beaten up. Superman gets his ass kicked through most of the movie. He's bloodied. He's beaten up. He has to be rescued by a dog. There's the dog star. Oh, not Milk, you're so slick. Putting in the dog star and got to get your serious little reference in there. Oh, yeah, like we haven't seen that. I'm really proud of yourself. Oh, come on. They just get off on the same old tricks. They sit in the movie theater, the not Milk minions, and the billionaires sit in the movie theater and crunch their popcorn. And they just, look, see, we brought the dog in there. That's a little ode to us. And they just get off on it, I guess. It's just... Why don't they just grow up and become the incarnation that we're trying to be? Stop with your endless recycling back into bodies. Why don't you come and do what we're doing? Coming in, Tommy, the deaf, dumb, and blind kid. Anyway, so this Superman is out to destroy that. The Superman now, to the new generation, he's weak. He gets beaten up all over the place. He's bloodied. He has to be rescued by a dog, which is God backwards. The dog star has to rescue him. It's just the same old pathetic tactics. And could you imagine if anybody stumbled upon this video? Here's a screenshot from the movie. Is that what your Superman is supposed to look like, folks, if you're over age 40? Is that what you remember? Oh, Matt, this is just 5 seconds of the movie. No, it's not. From what I hear, 30, 40, 50% of the movie, he's getting his ass kicked, or the public hates him and they're throwing cans at him and bottles and rocks, or he's being arrested, or he's being kicked into balls or something. Does that look like the Superman you remember? Again, and I'm sorry, under age 35, you just don't remember the old century. You don't remember what life was like. It wasn't all that great, but at least it was normal. We don't covet that great at this point. We just covet any degree of normalcy. That's the nostalgia we're trying to hold on to. A world that wasn't completely broken down. Is that the Superman you remember, getting his ass beat? Henry Cavill was the name I was thinking of, who was in the recent Justice League movies. Zack Snyder was that? This is James Gunn. Hey, James Gunn, thou art a villain for ruining our Superman, getting his ass beat. The old Zack Snyder, whatever, Henry Cavill. In that Justice League movie, there's this bad guy that comes in called Steppenwolf. Is that the name of a rock band or something? And he's this Steppenwolf bad guy is beating Wonder Woman's ass. He's beating Batman. He's beating up Aquaman. He's beating the rest of the Justice League, whoever else is in it. And then Superman comes back to life, and then you know what happens? Superman beats his ass. It's almost like nothing. It's like no problem. He just comes in and beats down on this bad guy, and it's like that's the Superman I remember. I don't know, but see, it's out to destroy. That's what the new generation of Not Nilk, everything you loved. Everything that was beloved in the past across all media that in some way came from the Not Nilk. I'm at it. It's all Not Nilk. Yeah, but there was some good that came out of it. Things that inspired imagination. You know, some people think that Dungeons and Dragons led little kids into demonic escapades. I think it inspired imagination. Comic books can do that. It wasn't all bad. All media wasn't all bad, although you could probably trace it to the original Not Nilk tributary. It didn't control everything back in the old day. Now, what was once good has to be destroyed. Hey, Not Nilk, as usual, thanks a lot. This advertisement popped up, and this is not going to be about NASCAR, but I'll use it as an example, what it's doing to all of sports. So is there a lot of sports on television in the last 10 years? I mean, it's everywhere, of course. And ESPN has to show for Monday Night Football, you have Peyton Manning and Eli Manning doing talking over the same game if you want ESPN2, and then probably Pat McAfee on another ESPN channel drinking beer with his boys and his posse talking about the same Monday Night Football game. I think it's been on 3 channels at the same time, but that's not good enough for Not Nilk. Now you can go to the streaming services and they have HBO will show the same exact thing on their channel and have all these features. I know with NASCAR, they keep pushing the in-car camera. See, nobody's watching these things, folks. Nobody's watching. If you want to watch the game, people probably just go to ESPN, or if it's a football game, if it's on ABC, and they'll watch it. Whatever. They're doing these alternative platforms, and nobody's watching, but the Not Nilk, for some reason, can't help itself. It has to keep pushing this. So one of the things they do on HBO Max is in-camera. You can screen if Kyle Busch is your favorite driver. You can go and see he has 2 or 3 cameras, one pointed at him as he's steering the wheel, one out the window. You know how many people are watching these alternative ways to cover the same sporting event? You know, maybe 5 people in Duluth or Dubuque, or maybe we used to pick on Skokie. There's one guy in Skokie. Nobody's watching it, but the Not Nilk can't help itself. It has to keep pushing, and the message to people is sports. They see the salaries. So you sit on the bench. The end of the bench, you just get in whatever the sport is. You get in for 1 minute, one game of the year, and you make $40 million. The salaries have to be justified. So the people say, "Oh, sports is covered everywhere. You can watch your baseball game." The other night, the Philadelphia Phillies were on the local station, and then TNT was covering it at the same time for their base. And then there was a streaming service. So people see these sports, in the mind of the people, the sports are so big and it's covered in multiple places. NBC will have it and Peacock will have it at the same time. And then there's in-car camera and then people talking about it in different ways. And Pat McAfee and his drunks talking about it. And I guess that justifies the salaries. But you know what? Sports isn't any bigger. Less people are watching the degenerate NBA. Less people are watching, hockey, I don't know. The Flyers haven't been in the playoffs for like 15 years, so I don't really watch much anymore. The NFL seems to be holding its own, but other than that, sports aren't booming, but they keep being covered in more and more places. I guess we should do a whole video on this sometime, guys, but at least what you're looking at here, there's a go to HBO Max, or if you have 2 TVs set up at the same time and watch the driver cam. You know who's watching Chase Elliott or Kyle Busch driver cam on HBO Max while the race is going on? Maybe Kyle Busch's and Chase Elliott's mother. 5 people, but they have to do it. They have to make the image of the Not Nilk as sports are getting bigger and bigger, and it's not. It's getting less and less because they're ruining it at the same time, intentionally ruining all these sports with more and more technology. I guess I'll end with what I talked about recently. You know, I hate the technology invasion in sports, but this one little area I don't really have a problem with because I can't stand these umpire bums. They look MLB history. New underneath this fat guy brushing off the plate looks like he's ready to take one in the, in the you know what. MLB history. New umpire union founded after mass resignations. They have a union. Oh, our average, this is 25 years ago. Matt, you just complained about this. I'm going to complain about it again. Our average salary is 25 years ago, $380,000. We work hard. You sit out here and I can Major League Baseball umpires. What are you eating hot dogs behind the plate as you're calling balls and strikes? In that pose, nobody should be eating a hot dog around you in that pose, sir, as you clean the plate. $380,000 is not enough. We're going to go on strike. You bums. You're finally being replaced by the AI. You know what that cost? Nothing, honey. It's free. It's free. Nothing. I'm Matt. You're for the no. I can't. If I had to choose, I'd choose for these bums to keep their job. I'd choose to always have to choose to keep the technology out of it. It's invading sports. Of course, it's meant to ruin everything. But I guess a little bit of the silver lining is if these bums all end up working at their local car washes. You shouldn't have been so greedy. I'm sure now. I said, well, they make 500,000, 600,000. I'm sure it's much more they make. You know what, you bums? Few years, the AI is going to replace your broke ass too. Thanks for listening.